Peace, everybody. Welcome to Capital Combat. The name says it all. I'm Hakeem Branch, and today we're going to talk about this Saturday's unification of two undisputed champs. Or we have an undisputed champ moving up two weight classes to fight another undisputed champ. Either way, this is something that is unprecedented in our era of boxing. And so with that, this is a pretty big event. We've got Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is the 168 super middleweight undisputed champ, fighting the junior middleweight undisputed champ, Canelo-Charlo. Charlo is moving up two weight classes, about 14 pounds in weight, in order to make this fight. And that is pretty significant. That's a lot of weight to put on. That is two weight classes to jump. There's a lot of significance with this fight. So let's talk about the skills of each guy, how we think it's going to turn out, and then we'll talk about afterwards what happened versus what we thought happened in our recap video. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel so you can see that recap once it comes out. Let's get into it. So, I was talking with Rob. We were trying to figure out, how we thought this fight was going to go and who we were leaning to based on what we've seen from each guy so far. And there are a lot of questions in this, specifically concerning Charlo, because while he is a big guy, he's about 6 feet tall. I think they have him listed. I'm looking at the card here, so we can talk a little bit about the undercard. But he's listed at 5'11", so he's got a couple inches on Canelo, who's listed as 5'9". But he has a really big frame. However, he's been getting that big frame down to 154 pounds, something that Canelo hasn't done in probably about a decade. So, Canelo is used to being at this larger weight, used to fighting larger fighters who probably could not make 154 pounds. So he's fighting some bigger, more solid guys. Whether they have better skills than Canelo-Charlo is another question. Because Charlo is a highly skilled fighter. He has an educated jab. He can set traps really well. I think that might be his number one asset, is he can walk people into things, and he does it often. He can throw in combination. At 154, he's usually the bigger guy. He'll still be taller, but like we said, he can get his body shrunken down to that 154 weight class. It's going to be interesting to see how the extra weight that he's put on is going to help or hinder him in this fight. And that's that's the biggest question mark of this fight, is can he use this weight to his advantage and not make it a disadvantage? In Canelo, we have a guy who is a slick stalker, someone who makes people miss, makes people pay, walks his opponents down with heavy shots, and usually wears them out by the later rounds with that barrage of punches. Now the question is, can he do that against Charlo? We've seen Canelo have stamina issues throughout his career that never have really seemed to be addressed. What he does instead is he has limited his punch output to where it's all explosions of violence. To where previously he would go out there and he'd throw a lot of punches, and then he'd have to take a few rounds off and then go back to it. And it sort of seems like he still does that. Those big violent flurries kind of still take a little bit away from his gas tank, but he's slick enough to where he can nullify the opponent's output by dodging and slipping as he's coming forward, and then able to, when he does explode, he lands forceful and he lands very visibly, so he can also sway the judges to admire the work he does better than his opponents. Can he do that with Charlo, who, like I said, is a bigger guy and is known to walk people into traps? Canelo is pretty good at seeing those traps coming, so he's probably going to have to work a little bit harder than he's been used to as well. And he just came off of a couple pretty physical, rough fights with Brian Castano, who, one, they fought to a draw, then he was able to knock him out in a rematch. But those were still physical, taxing fights where Castano was making him work a lot more than we're used to seeing Charlo have to work. And he passed that test. So will he be able to do that with a guy who's bigger and presumably hits harder? Based on his record, he's been knocking out guys regularly at the higher weights. So that's going to be something that Charlo is going to have to, be cognizant of. He's going to have to keep his defense on point all night. Rob did mention that he's a little susceptible to the left hook. And guess what? Canelo is really good at throwing the left hook. So that's going to, especially late in the fight, be something that Charlo's going to have to, he's going to have to keep holding that phone, as we tell people in the gym, holding that phone to his ear so he can protect himself against Canelo's left hook. But Canelo is good at throwing that hook in various ways. He can vary it to the body. He can fake it to make it look like it's going to the body and then end up top. He's very educated with his left hook. So it's going to be a tall task to ask Charlo to dodge that all night. Also, Rob mentioned that Canelo is really good with feigning his jab and then going over the top with the right hand. That's something else Charlo's going to have to really be on the lookout for as he is trying to set his traps in this fight as well. He's pretty good at pumping his jab and then feigning one, making the opponent try to counter that jab, and him dropping in a right hand left hook as well. So it'll be a battle of trap setters in this fight. And usually, sometimes that can make for a unintriguing fight to somebody who wants to see like a lot of punches being thrown. You're going to see both of these guys trying to set things up on each other. And so it's going to be, I believe it's going to be more of a thinking man's fight, where like you're seeing these guys, they're like moving around, trying to move their guy into a position to land certain punches. And while there may not be a lot of physical punches being thrown, there's going to be a lot of gamesmanship in that aspect, which, is going to be exciting for other people, other types of fight fans. And believe it or not, you can be a hardcore fan and be into both of those. You can be a casual fan and be into both of those. I'm not even going to get into my casual rant right now. So with all those questions and with the skills kind of laid out, how do we think this fight is going to go? I feel that we're going to see the typical Canelo fight, where the guy's throwing punches, he seems to be in there, he's taking the punishment, and then all of a sudden Canelo lands something that puts them in trouble, and he is really good at finishing people. And from what I've seen online, that's kind of the way mostly everybody sees the fight going also. They do see Canelo producing a stoppage in his normal range of 9 to 10 rounds. So usually it's between the 8th and the 10th round, to where he really starts to, that punishment really starts to add up. He really starts to take advantage of how he's been pushing the pace on his opponent, and not even so much as throwing a lot of punches, but just being in their face and making them work when they don't really want to work, and then him coming back with really hard shots to wear them down. And I think that's what we see here. Charlo's going to land some great shots. Not sure if his power is going to be able to carry up those two divisions and really give Canelo problems. The last person that gave Canelo the most problems was Bivol, and he was able to just lay on the volume on Canelo to where he couldn't stalk him and he couldn't set those same traps, because Bivol was not only bigger, but he had incredible speed and timing to where he threw his combination and he was out of there before Canelo could get the combinations. And then he pushed him back to where Canelo was sitting on the ropes eating combinations and then wasn't there for the return. I don't think Charlo is disciplined enough to do that for 12 rounds. We've seen him be very emotionally unstable, for lack of better terms, and he can be goaded into a firefight or, making mistakes. And I think Canelo is going to pick up on those and use that enough to secure the victory. So going with Canelo between 8 and 10, wearing Charlo down and stopping him, and a pretty thoughtfully entertaining fight. So let us know what you think. Hit us up in the comment section. Do you think Charlo pulls it off? Can he walk Canelo into something, hurt him, and stop him? We haven't seen that. We've seen Canelo hurt. We haven't seen anybody capitalize off of it. We've seen him outbox thoroughly. Can Charlo maintain discipline and do that as well? Or do you see Canelo landing the heavier punches, maybe taking it to a decision, or getting the stoppage? Let us know what you think. Hit us up in the comment section below. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, and we will see you in the next video, being the recap of what actually happened versus what we thought happened. So we will see y'all then. Until then, fight on.
This round one and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and cost. My fists are on fire. I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage. Keep thinking that it's a game. I kick rhyme, hurricane. I told them I don't play. I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.